All right, what is up, guys? My name is RJ, and welcome back to Norse Outdoors. Today, I'm going to be doing a quick Lake of the Woods tackle and strategy breakdown for you guys. We've been fishing Lake of the Woods for 3 years. This year was just our third year. We had a great trip. We caught limits of fish between 15 and 18 inches, and it was awesome. We also capped it off with a nice 39-inch pike and a 20.5-inch walleye. I'm going to go through and kind of tell you what worked. I'm going to start off with what baits worked, what tackle, and then I'm going to kind of go through what line and rods we used, and finally, I'm going to close it off with the strategy we used, how we positioned our shack, how we found our spots, and all that. So stay tuned throughout the entire video. These are all important tips. And by all means, don't let this be the only video you watch. I've been watching Lake of the Woods fishing tips and fishing reports, since before I started coming up. A great person I like to watch is Kurt with North Country Outdoors Radio. He's awesome. He posts weekly reports. All right, time to jump right into the baits. First bait I'm going to talk about is the Northland Tackle Rattle-N Puppet Minnow. Here it is. So this is the gold color. Northland Tackle has a couple great baits I really like. Another one is the regular Puppet Minnow, but this Northland Tackle Rattle-N Puppet Minnow is really awesome because it has these extra rattles in there. Another thing I like about the Rattle-N Puppet Minnow is it's got no front hook. And one of the ways we lost a lot of our fish this year is by having the front hook on there, because the front hook gets caught on the ice and your big fish pop off. So that's something I really like about this bait. The way we rig this bait is a little weird. So you take an entire fathead minnow, that's our preferred minnow choice, cut it right in half or pinch it in half, however you want to cut them. We put the head on this treble hook right here and thread the tail on right here. So you got your head here, your tail here. It's a big profile, but it's pretty goofy looking. But I mean, we've done great on that, caught multiple slot fish and a lot of good keepers on that. Here's what it looks like in the package. Northland Tackle, as you can see up here, Rattle-N Puppet Minnow, that's what you want. And I'm linking all the baits in the description box below, so you guys can feel free to check them out. All right, the second thing I'm gonna talk about is spoons. A lot of guys love spoons on Lake of the Woods. We haven't really had great success on them, but this year I did catch quite a few fish on the spoon. This spoon in particular. So a lot of the major keys at Lake of the Woods are gold, white, and Wonder Bread. This spoon does them all. I mean, this thing is like the jack of all trades. It's got Wonder Bread, it glows, it's gold, and on top of that, it rattles. So it's got little rattles in here. It pretty much just jigs perfectly vertically, but I mean, this thing was slaying fish. The way I rig it, I'll cut to that in after the video, but basically, minnow right on here, and I'll show you guys that. And I'm taking a really small live fathead, so it gets a little bit of kick while it's down there, even if I'm not jigging. I'm going right in behind the dorsal fin. And that is the entire presentation. I mean, this has been slaying walleye this week. We've tried a lot of stuff, and this has been one of our better baits, so it's just something to keep in mind if you haven't tried it yet. So, that spoon worked great for us. We caught a 28.5-inch fish on it. I'll show you guys the fish right here. There he goes. Wow. So other spoons that exist, like this one right here, this is a flutter spoon. It's got a little glowy on there. This thing is okay. Like, we got a few fish on it. You can pretty much find this in any tackle shop up there. I think we got this at Adrian's. It's okay. Like, we caught a few fish on it, but like I said, spoons have really not been the best for us. Moving on to other baits. Acme's got some great baits for catching walleye. This right here is the Acme Hyper Glide. One caution about this bait, though, is if you're fishing it in deep water with a bunch of guys in your shack, it goes everywhere, which is nice, but it's also a double-edged sword. It will literally fly within an 8-foot circle around your shack, so be careful about that. But it is an amazing bait, and if you clip your line through this little plastic right here, as you drop it down, it will hit the bottom like this, and you can pop it, and then it'll be perfectly vertical, and that's a good way to get it down without it taking forever and without tangling your buddies. This bait's great. I do the same thing on this bait as I do on the puppet. So like, literally, I cover baits in minnow heads and tails wherever you can. If there's an open hook, I have something on it. It's your preference, see what the fish are liking, but we've definitely caught a lot of fish on that. Nice walleye, pike, burbot, you name it, we've caught it. Another tip I like for these things is putting a small swivel above it. So this is kind of like what the rig we use, you can see here. I have a little swivel above it, and then I have some line, and then I have my Acme Hyper Glide. This is nice because the thing is gliding all around down there in circles, and it's getting messed up, so we like to put a little swivel on there to prevent line from tangling, and it really just keeps things in working order the whole time. Here's what it looks like in the box. There's a variety of different colors you can use. I like these perch colors, Fire Tiger, but this pink was also good. We caught some good fish on that this year, but try everything. Yeah, that's a great bait. All right, next I'm gonna talk about the Acme Hyper Rattle. This thing is a fish calling in machine. It doesn't look like it's super rattly. It's pretty small, and there's various sizes. All of them are great, but you can rattle it. There's no way you can hear this, but it's awesome. It rattles good, and Basically, we always have something down there at the rattles. We'll talk about that in the strategy portion. Okay, next is this pink minnow. This is just like your average minnow bait, like a Rapala shiver minnow or whatever minnow bait it is. I don't really even know what this one is. Tiki minnow. There we go. Yeah, it's pink. It glows. We've got some big fish on this. Coated in hooks. Another one that worked great for me this year was the blade bait. So this is a little steel shad blade bait. And this thing's awesome. Like, I just put it down there. I rip it up. And, I mean, fish were following it up 10, 20 feet up the hole. It was great for calling them in and also catching fish. I like it because it's also got a pretty small profile compared to some of the other baits we fish. So it was really good at catching those fish and, you know, small sauger too, but hey, at least they're fun to catch. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about some plain jigs. So this is effectively a jig and a minnow presentation, but it's got a little eye on there and it glows and it's gold. You know, this bait is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you catch them good, sometimes you don't. It's basically just another presentation you can try out. We also just tried like a plain jig and a minnow, like something you'd fish in the summer. I caught a few good fish doing that, so it kind of depends. And we've rigged these with either live fatheads through the head or dead emerald shiners work great too, depending on what the fish are in the mood for. Like I've kind of been saying, just try everything. Got a few other colors here like pink with the golds or with the glowing stripe. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to the rip and wrap. So I love the rip and wrap. In the summer, I fish the rip and wrap all the time. Hell, I fish it all year. I mean, it's an amazing bait. So, you know, you might not catch a ton of fish on the rip and wrap, but it definitely calls them in. Like, there were times when we were like, oh, there's no bite right now, and no one was jigging. I would put down the rip and wrap or the puppet or anything that rattles and start jigging. And, like, literally you could see fish coming in the live scope within 5 minutes every time. So, always be jigging something. This size of rip and wrap I like a little bit better. This is the number 5. A little bit of a smaller rip and wrap presentation. It'll probably get you more hookups. This year I was fishing this one a lot, number 6. This was catching fish. I mean, surprisingly, I was still catching small fish with that big rip and wrap, but, you know, it did put a couple better fish on deck. And it was just great at calling them in. All right, that kind of concludes the tackle, but like I said, you're going to want to have everything you can in your arsenal when you're up there. I mean, I'm a pretty impatient fisherman, so if I don't catch something for 10 minutes, I'm retying. So I like to have a lot of stuff. I like to try a lot of stuff. I just recommend watching all the videos you can, learning everything you can, and trying everything you can when you're up there because there's no one strategy on Lake of the Woods. Okay, I'm quickly going to talk about line and rods, and then we're going to get into a strategy breakdown. First, I'm going to talk about this. So this is my bread and butter when I'm up at Lake of the Woods. This is a 13 fishing Wicked. This is a 28-inch medium rod, and it's actually the combo, so it's got the Wicked ice reel on there. This is great. I love this setup. It's perfect for jigging, deep, shallow, whatever. It's pretty heavy. It's like I like it because it gives you bigger hook sets, but it's definitely not the lightest setup. This is the medium. I love this rod. It's done me well. I've had it for a few years. It's great. Okay, next I'm going to talk about this. This is the Wicked Ice 25-inch light. For Lake of the Woods, this rod is a little bit light for my preference. I mean, you can hook into some bigger fish. Gus actually did catch a 39-inch pike on this, so it can clearly handle bigger fish. And, you know, just managing your drag right and everything. And speaking of drag, this is 13 Fishing Black Betty. This is a great reel inside the shack. I mean, this thing drops nicely. I like this reel a lot. It's smooth. The drag system works great for bigger fish, as you can see in our pike video coming out next week. I do like this reel and this rod. This is a great setup. There's something I don't like as much. This is a 13 Fishing Descent. I don't love this reel. It's okay for panfish sometimes, but I'm still not in love with it. The release is here, and it's just clunky overall, and it's kind of unreliable. And the drag system is weird. Like, the drag just goes, like, you adjust the nozzle or the knob backwards, which I don't really like. And if you're fighting larger fish, it doesn't really meet my bar. So for Lake of the Woods, maybe stay away from that one. But the rod, again, is great. That's the 25-inch light. Okay, for line, so we were using the Suffix ice line. I love Suffix line in the summer. It works great for a lot of stuff. But this stuff was not doing it for me. It's got a lot of memory on it. So when we were spooling up our rods, I mean, it's always like tangling up and spinning. It's not running right straight down the spinning rods. So, you know, you could try to mitigate this like by running it through water and stretching it out when you put it on. But frankly, I just wouldn't use it. I mean, there's other lines out there that are a little better. I like Sunline and 4 and 6 pound line were working well for us. We broke off on 1 or 2 fish, but that was, you know, nothing that can really be done about that, breaking off on the ice or whatever. That's kind of not really on the line. But for the most part, the line works well, except for the memory part. Okay, talked about the rods, talked about the tackle. I'm gonna get into a quick strategy breakdown of exactly what we do when we get to Lake of the Woods and how we catch fish. So this year, the first night we went in pretty shallow. We were fishing 22 feet of water. I think it's always worth checking shallow to see if the fish are there. So this year when we checked shallow, there was a lot of emerald shiners around and that we were seeing on live scope, and a few fish, and we spent one full day shallow. And we were able to jig up some good walleye, catch a couple good ones. We caught a few keepers, but the action was not at all like what it is out deep. So while we did catch a couple decent keeper walleye up to 18 inches, maybe 5, it was not a great day. We maybe only caught 10 or 15 fish, which is not that many for Lake of the Woods. So you can always try shallow, and another advantage of being shallow is you always have a chance at pike. If you're interested in that, we caught quite a few pike. I think just jigging in the shack, we caught 3 pike, which was cool. And then there's also burbot that are around at night. So if you're interested in maybe having some shot of a night bite, you could try chucking a big piece of cub bait down on your rattle reel or whatever, dropping it down while you're having a beer and just letting it sit there. And there's a good chance that something will come play with it. So the main strategy that we caught all of our fish doing was driving to fresh ice at the end of the road. A lot of the guys are against the drive to the end of the road train, but for us it was working. We would drive straight to the end of the road out of Adrian's and then look for a spot that we could go out of, shovel our way out. We didn't have a plow this year, so we would shovel out a nice path off the road and just go. Keep in mind of being courteous while you're doing this. Like, other guys have their shack set up. You don't want to be like going straight off where the end of the road is, where Adrian's might try to plow their road. But yeah, so you can pretty much just go wherever, depending on what the snow conditions are. So we didn't have a plow, so we would literally just have to drive off the road, shovel ourselves out of snowbanks. It was a grind, but this did put us on fish, and we moved every single night. I think our first move, which found out the hard way, we moved once to fresh ice, fished the first day, it was amazing. And then we stayed another day, and the fishing was maybe half as good. So yes, we were still catching fish, but it was not nearly as good as what it has been the prior day. So I encourage you to move every night if you can. Otherwise, just at least for your first day, put yourself on fresh ice and give yourself the best opportunity. I think every spot we pulled up on that was fresh ice, we had good shots at big walleye. Like, we would see them on the live scope, and we hooked up quite a few times, lost a few big fish. But yeah, we caught most of our keepers, like big fish we saw multiple overslot fish probably on the graph and caught one on fresh ice. So make sure that if you can, you move every night. That's the best advice I can give you. Go deep, move every night. And yeah, another general tip is, try to reel up your fish slowly when you're fishing deep. It's bad for the fish if you just reel them up quick. Their swim bladders pop out, and it's not a good experience for you or the fish. So if you're fishing deep, make sure you're slowly reeling up the fish. And this did work for us. We were able to safely release a lot of decent fish. I think that's about it. So thank you guys for staying tuned throughout the video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below, and I'll try to answer those as best as I can. And I've linked all the baits and the rods in the description box down below. So thank you guys for staying tuned, and we'll catch you guys in the next video, which will be our 39-inch pike catch. So that'll be pretty cool. Thanks. See you guys next time.